Whoa, that is one seriously buried vehicle. Just had breakfast up here on Snoqualmie Pass. Good times. Hey MGTOWs, this is Vention. Man, what a couple of weeks it has been up here. Seattle has been just insane with this massive freaking snowstorm and running around chaining trucks and trying to keep up with guys who are half my age. And it's been beating me down in a way that I haven't felt for like decades, since like basic training in the Army or something. I reached a level of deep fatigue and joint pain and wear and damage, and it's been like a real experience. But today is my first day off of a 3-day weekend. I mean, basically I've been working hard and I've been working long, a lot of hours and mandatory overtime, and working 1 day of our weekend. So I would just barely get 1 day to heal, and then I'd be back at it again, and it was freaking brutal. Yeah, it's been an experience, man. And I've had 1 day off so far, and man, my shoulders are starting to heal, and my hands. And when you're a mechanic, especially when you're chaining trucks, your hands just take an enormous amount of abuse, and now I can feel them starting to come back. And this is going to be awesome. I've got 3 days off. I mean, I've already burned up one of them. I did very little. The first day, which was yesterday, was the holiday. That was my first day of my weekend. My dad and I just went up to Snoqualmie Pass and had breakfast up on the mountain. And it was my turn to pay. So he handed over the Bitcoin. This is how we keep track of who pays. Basically, when he or I pays, if he's paying, I hand this thing over to him. Then, because otherwise it was kind of hard for both of us to remember. We're starting to get old. He is seriously old. He's like 84, and I'm 54. So, yeah, neither of us are young. So I might splice in a few scenes of running around in the service truck. That thing, I mean, it was a pretty good truck, and it was pretty heavily loaded with a lot of chains, and it four-wheel drive, of course. And geez, we never even had to put the chains on the service truck, so it would just bite right in and keep going. We just didn't drive like we were crazy.
Thank you, 2-3. I appreciate it.
What a lovely day. I'm saving this for my memoirs.
Look at, almost a wreck right there.
Wow.
Almost a wreck. That guy, he was going.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a pleasant day.
Then,
It's a winter wonderland.
just a...
Dump truck.
Can I?
Barracks and 6. Are you in a position to head up to West Seattle? We got a serious
I wonder if you can make it in from back here.
As I was wondering, I think there's a gate, but I think it's closed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Kind of.
Oh,
I think almost there. I think more along the lines of 35th Avenue, just south of Fauntleroy, and Avalon.
What the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I just got a comment. Oh, basically, hold on. As soon as we got back from from breakfast, man, I just fell apart, man. I just went right to bed and crashed for another freaking 7 or 8 hours, and now it's like 3 a.m. and I'll probably go back to sleep after this. And I've been seriously beaten down by that job over the last 2 weeks, man. What an experience. But after 3 days, I should be pretty healed up and ready to go back. So yeah. I'm grateful that I'm still, even at age 54, I'm still physically able to do this job. But it is starting to wear, and I was having some serious trouble keeping up with those young men at my shop. A lot of those guys are like half my age now, especially on my shift. A lot of the oldsters, they seem to prefer day shift, and for me, swing shift is my preferred shift. So basically, I'm working with a lot of younger guys, and I'm like Gandalf in a way. I've got access to knowledge and the ability to research and reference, look up reference material and have information ready like quick, whereas a lot of other mechanics, they're doing a lot of these things for the first time, and they are having to flip a lot of pages and manuals and parts manuals to try to find what they're looking for, whereas I could just pop it open in the calendar program on my phone and just do a global search, and I can find the information in like seconds or minutes. So in any case, I'm kind of a reference. I'm like a library and a coworker. So, but in any case, trying to keep up with those young men it's put a serious strain on this old man. So back to what I wanted to make this video about. I got a response by a guy in who, when I posted a comment on a Bitcoin video, and he was saying something like, "That's awesome. I'm doing some dollar cost averaging myself. I would like to have at least 10 to 25 Bitcoins." That's a respectable goal. How long have you been doing this? And do you have a good amount of Bitcoin stacked? And other people have asked me, how much Bitcoins do you have and whatnot? But basically, my response is that there is nothing to be gained for anyone by sharing how many Bitcoins you have, right? If you own Bitcoins and people are like curious, especially when Bitcoins hit like 100 grand or more, people are going to be saying, "Wow, you have a whole Bitcoin or multiple Bitcoins. How many Bitcoins do you have?" Right? There is no benefit to anybody, no benefit to you, no benefit to them to share that information, because it would just inspire people to be envious of you, and there's nothing good about that, right? And the thing that we should be concentrating on is how many Bitcoins, how much overall investments, and how your wealth is deployed and invested across the economy, and how low your debt is, and how well you are doing. Then you can like manage your whole thing. It's just like it's like a giant chessboard, It's like do I pay down more debt or do I buy more Bitcoins? You know, is it a boom or a bust cycle, or what? You know, how do you manage these things? And it's more important to compare yourself to yourself rather than trying to compare yourself to somebody else, however they are doing, right? Um, because there's almost always enviable things about other people's lives that we can really, you know, envy if we find out about it, right? And yet if you look a little deeper and actually try to be that person, or think about being that person, you might find that it's not nearly as an enviable situation as you thought it might be, right? Because, for example, there are a lot of those seriously early Bitcoiners, right, who like have 1,000 Bitcoins or some insane amount of wealth like that. But if you look at them, right, because the earlier somebody was in Bitcoins, the weirder they are, right? And there are some geeks out there who are like so hopelessly geeky and they got into Bitcoins really early and they're just painfully geeky, right? It's like they go into a public place and they're just sitting there in just agonized social anxiety, and it's like, and they're, you know, really, really skinny or highly obese, and it's just, they may have a lot of money, but they are still stuck with being who they are. And a lot of those guys are not in a very enviable situation as to who they are. Do they like themselves, or how comfortable they are, you know, in their life? And I would have to think about it, you know, would I rather be me, or would I rather be that, right? And a guy was like bragging to me once, saying, I have so many Bitcoins, I've been here, I was like going since 2009, and I'm so badass, you know. And I responded, yes, but the earlier you are in Bitcoin, the weirder you are. So you are stuck with being who you are, and I'm very sorry. So, and he is also, the guy who wrote this comment was almost certainly younger than me, because almost everybody in Bitcoin is younger than me. I'm like, I think I was just geeky enough to understand Bitcoin, and it lined up with my prepper survivalist Second Amendment, you know, libertarian philosophy, the limited supply, the taking money back from government, all that. It really appealed to that part of me, and I was also geeky enough to see it. So I actually got in kind of early, but not super early, right? But the thing is, I am also farther along in my life, right? I have burned up a lot of lifespan getting where I am. For example, I am a heavy diesel truck mechanic who has been at it for 25 years. A lot of guys can't last. The workload just beats them up and they just break. Especially women, man. Women, when they try my job, they go in there and they might last 18 months max before they just keep getting hurt, hauled off to the hospital, and job injury, and on freaking job injury status, and light duty, and then limping around the shop, and then about the third or fourth trip to the hospital. Back and shoulder injuries are the most common. I mean, we really work our shoulders and our backs as diesel mechanics. But anyway, then they're gone. Boom. Or they take a pay cut and move into management. So basically, I am in an enviable position, but man, has it taken years to get here, and look at this gray in my beard. All of this, nice paid off house, income, 4,600 a month take home, and house is paid off, so my spending's about 1,400. $3,000 a month surplus income. It's very enviable, but I am also getting pretty old. And it's taken, I had to burn up a lot of years to get myself into this situation. So I could actually look to this guy. His handle is Earthly Adventurer. I could quite possibly envy many aspects of his life because he is buying Bitcoin at age like probably 23 or something. And he has all his life ahead of him, because if he can like lock down like maybe one Bitcoin, or he's shooting for like 10 to 25, which is a very ambitious goal. But if he even just manages to lock down one Bitcoin, right, the gains of that investment over 30 years, 40 years, to the point where he reaches my age like 54, that one Bitcoin will probably be enormously more than my entire net worth right now at age 54, right? So in a way, you could say that his life is more enviable than mine in that aspect. But, every time one guy looks at somebody else's life saying, man, that must be the way. I mean, I envy him. I wish I was him, right? That other person is probably turning around and looking right at you saying, man, I envy the shit out of that guy, Some people could envy me when I have enviable aspects to my life, especially being a MGTOW. But man, I don't have a lot of life left. What we have here is a finished product, right? Whereas a lot of these young guys have a lot of raw materials and a lot of ability and a lot of time to work. And if they work diligently and they build intelligently and invest intelligently, keep good habits and good frugal lifestyle habits, they can be so far ahead of me by the time they reach age 54 than I am currently. So, hard to tell where the envy really should be. So basically the goal should probably be to focus on your own life and build your own life and enjoy your own life and make it what you want to be. If you try to live somebody else's life, it's not going to be satisfying for you, and it's not going to feel genuine, and it's going to be feeling like you've been acting your whole way through life and you never really lived your own life, right? So it's more important, I think, to live your own life and make your own mistakes and follow your own path than it is to try to do what somebody else is doing, especially like with prepping and survivalist sort of thing. People could say, man, I would really like to have that guy set up. And then if they try aiming to build somebody else's life, they end up with something that isn't really a good fit for them. So, yeah. So, let's see. So, basically, if he could say, he asked me like how many Bitcoins I have, right? And my answer would probably be not enough. Because as you can see, I'm still working this brutal, heavy labor, highly intellectually demanding and physically demanding job. And I'm still doing it rather than laying on a beach listening to a steel drum band. So therefore, how many Bitcoins do I have? Not enough. I'm hoping that over the next year or so, till especially up to 2020 when the halvening occurs, I'm optimistic that we will reach my magic number again, and then I'll be able to wave goodbye to my fellow mechanics and start my new life. So, that's about all I got for you guys. I think I'm going to go right back to bed again. See if I can get my old bones to heal up, and then I'll do a few things around the yard for my weekend. I've got molehills popping up that I got to take care of. I'm going to research mole repelling devices and take the garden hose and blast the molehill down into the tunnels. That seems to discourage them. If you just have to be relentless at at doing it. The moment one pops up, go out there, blast it in, right? Eventually they get sick of it, as I have found, or they get killed, and then you have no more mole holes for like a month, right? But if you but I'm going to look into these electronic mole repellers, because that would sure save a lot of trouble. So, okay, guys, I think that's about it. I'm going to upload this thing and then crash again and see if I can heal up this weekend, do a few useful things, and then I'll be ready to start my week on Thursday. Unless it starts snowing again, in which case I'm going to have to go back and start chaining trucks again. Come on, Bitcoins, get me out of here. Oh, and don't get married.